Hello and welcome to the Moisture Farm podcast. I am your host, Captain Dickbeard. I think that's the name that the three of us decided I would be called. Um, this is episode 4, and we are going to cover a variety of topics today uh,
Starting on episode.
surrounding the uh, Star Wars Unlimited card game. Uh, Today we're going to be talking about ourselves a little bit, talking about the recalibrations article that we recently read. We're going to cover leaders for JTL, new mechanics, deck predictions, a little bit of how we're doing, and a meta update that came out today that we will be discussing. I got some notes on that. Anyway, I'm Captain Dickbeard. Tell us about yourselves, Robert and Tangent.
I'll go first then, Captain. Aye, Captain. I'm Robert. I have, uh, and that's River. If you heard that, that's River. Uh,
Or bad
God,
gas.
I was introduced to Magic the Gathering in the 5th or 6th grade. I was mowing lawns in my neighborhood, and the guy next door asked if I wanted to be paid in Magic cards as opposed to cash. And so that was my introduction to Magic the Gathering. Um, Played off and on for a long time. When Tangent and I were wee lads, we would spend hours playing one game of Magic. We would build the biggest, largest army that we could and then just mash them into each other. It was amazing. Um, God, I met you, what, 12 years ago? Yeah, yeah, over 12 years ago I met you. We met playing HeroClix, and that was
Was it?
awesome. Yeah,
Yes, it was.
it was Dice Age. You met at Dice Age, right?
Oh, that's right. Dice Age games and what? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We met at Dice Age playing Clicks. Moved away, came back, moved away again, blah 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 blah. And so these are probably my two bestest best friends in the whole world. And swoo
Swoo happened.
swoo
Swoo
happened.
happened.
We were swooed
Uh,
away.
that we were. I will go next. My introduction was also Magic, like so many people's were. I was playing with Robert, as he said, many games of Magic that were hours long because they were 1,000 card decks or more. What are you gonna do when you build a wall and you just can't get through it? I met
I
Captain Dickbeard playing Warlord. For those that know Warlord, it was an amazing game that lasted too short of a time. With experience playing old 5R, new 5R, and really getting into Star Wars Unlimited. As you can potentially see behind me, I am also very much a board gamer, 40K board games, and painting all the fun stuff. But for cards, it's Star Wars right now. Let's go. Captain Dickbeard, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Uh, I've been playing card games for the better part of 30 years. Um, I played pretty much everything under the sun. Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic, Warlord,
I
Versus.
didn't know you could get gayer.
Yeah, I know it just gets worse from there. My Little Pony. Yeah, that happened. Uh, uh, Neopets, don't ask. Um, I love card games and I love turning cardboard sideways, and I've been obsessed all my life ever since I discovered card games. Which the first card game I ever played was the uh, Decipher for Star Trek, and then Magic. Anyway, I met these two yahoos in different gaming arenas. I met Tangent playing Warlord, which is uh, my arguably my favorite card game of all time. And then I met Robert playing Hero Clicks. Um,
The game that loves to hate me.
yes, yes, dice games are frustrating. I think out of all of the card games I've played, my top three are Swoo, Warlord and Versus. And Versus is a close second to SWU, actually, because it feels very similar. Just the linear progression of resourcing is very familiar. But that's pretty much me.
Did I ever tell you guys that I played Warlord for a minute, a hot minute?
Yes.
I actually didn't know that.
Who was your
The more
favorite
you
Yeah,
know.
warlord?
it was so, dude. It was when I was stationed in Port Angeles, so this would have been between probably like 2005, 2006, so damn near 20 years ago. And I was married to she who shall not be named. And like it was funny. Like I remember it so vividly. We went to the only nerd shop in town, and probably Chris told me about the game. And so like we bought like a copy of everything they had in the store, and then we went to like Chili's and we like opened packs and stuff in the store and put them in sleeves and binders and stuff. It was like one of the few memories I have with her that is actually fine and great all by its lonesome, which makes it also super fucking weird. Super.
100%.
But with my schedule, and I was on active duty and I was on rotating shifts, like I never actually got to play. And then in one of my mini moves, the cards went away. Who knows where? Who knows where?
Very, very sad.
Very sad.
Alrighty, let's get into those subjects.
Subject.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, so that article about the recalibrations. Who wants to talk about those recalibrations? Really?
I'll go first. I was
Yeah.
really excited something that's felt a little off for me ever since starting Star Wars Unlimited was I didn't understand the pricing cost of things, right? Um, Looking across units, it's really hard to understand why certain things are costed the same. Like, why is this 3-1 ambush 2 resource, but this 1-4 nothing 2 resource as well, right? Like it just seemed weird. Uh, and in the article, they say so much as they feel that they were too conservative, especially with uniques, in regards to power creep, and so they expect to see cards get more powerful as time goes by, which I feel is the opposite of Magic, because like in the beginning, like what was it, Millstone, way back when, totally Black Lotus, OP cards way back when, and Magic just started out super strong and then had to dial it back and then ramp it up, and Magic's just been all over the place. So to hear that they are going to make more interesting and more powerful cards, I am very excited about. The question I had for you two, if you could bring some clarity, is does the rarity of the card impact its stat lines at all? So, like, is a legendary 4 resource just objectively better than a legendary uncommon 4 resource in every conceivable metric? Or is the card rarity solely regard to how many of the thing were printed?
I think historically you see some of both. So the fact that it is a rare does tend to drive a little bit of power. That's just an artificial part of building the game. You want the more powerful cards to be a little bit harder to get. You still want some power in the commons and uncommons, but you do want to help drive that secondary market, because having a powerful secondary market really helps your game out. But then the other thing that is really mentioned in the article for this is the fact that they do want uniques to be a little bit more powerful. And you tend to have rare and legendary uniques and not just generic Bob's your uncle characters or generic actions.
Yeah, like Ahsoka from the last set.
Yep.
Yes, she's weak sauce. Oh wait, are we talking about the unit?
The unit,
Yeah,
not the
well,
leader.
actually I think for she's a legendary, right?
Yeah.
Um, she has a very niche ability, and I tried playing around with it and I couldn't quite. It just seemed like whenever I was in a position where I had fewer units than my opponent, I was losing the game anyway. And so her coming into play and essentially killing herself by ambushing into something, it just seemed like for a 3/4, it wasn't really worth it. Um, However, her traits, I think, are what make her valuable, being a Jedi and a Force user.
Keywords?
No, traits.
Oh, are we getting, am I confusing them now?
Yes.
Yep.
Keywords are abilities on cards. Traits are uh, traits. They're aspects
Descriptors.
about the units or the characters, and that you can unlock potential synergies with, depending on the leader.
Yeah, so the one you're talking about is the 334 from Twilight of the Republic. Can you bring that up?
Yep.
And it's worth, just as an interesting aside, all the Ahsoka unit cards are rare or legendary.
Can I not spell her name?
AHSO. Yep, there it is.
Right, so she requires that you have less units than your opponent.
In order to gain ambush.
So a 3 for 3/4. So going back to answering your question, this is an example of a legendary that, if your criteria for judging the legendary is its printed abilities, it's lackluster. It gets an A+ for art.
We are not doing art today.
I know, I
We
know.
are
We are
not
not
going
doing
We're
into
art
not
that
today.
doing art today. Okay, sorry.
quagmire.
But that
I'm a
that
bad
also
man.
really goes into another point of the article is you really have to balance around the colors and the aspects. Like this is a yellow card. If this were in red, it would be trash.
Mm.
But it's a yellow
Interesting.
card. You really have to account for the fact that you can pay 2 to bounce her back to your hand, which I think is a little overcosted myself. When there's actions that you pay 1 to bounce something into your hand and do damage, but you're ambushing her, and then next action you're bouncing her back into your hand. She is almost a 3 resource for 3 damage reusable card.
Right.
Or you can always throw her Padawan lightsaber on her on the next action, which makes her what, a 5/0, a 5/4, and then the following action you just bring her back again.
Yep, which also bounces that lightsaber back to your hand.
Yes, and so that's the cool part. And so like that's, as you were talking about, that's the aspect portion of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The I do something a little janky. And even the other Ahsoka card, the unit card, is a yellow. When played, opponent discards a card from their hand. If it's a unit, you may exhaust a unit.
What's her rarity?
She's a
Rare.
rare as opposed to a legendary.
Okay.
Um, we're not getting into art, so I'm not going to say anything about it.
So again, going back to your question, I think the genuine answer is it depends. Not every
Mm-hmm.
legendary is created equal. Some are more useful than others. And you can look at PQ deck lists and determine that what's popular versus what isn't, and what's popular is most likely what's going to be competitive in Premier. So it just really depends. I think some legendaries are subject to themes that you can build around. I think the one that comes to mind is Grievous, because he can equip multiple lightsabers. I've yet to see anybody pull that off, but the day somebody does, it's going to be pretty epic.
And you could, no, you couldn't. I mean, you might be able to put a fallen saber on him if you give him a red deck.
That would be hilarious.
He ignores the aspect penalty of the lightsabers.
Oh, even better.
Even
Even
better.
better. But the
Even
neat
better.
thing about lightsabers is that most of them have a bonus if you give them to a force unit, and he doesn't have force.
Very true.
So if there's ever a future where you can reliably and consistently get Grievous and somehow cheaply equip him with enough lightsabers before he gets murdered, yeah, that would be dope. But again, a legendary that is, eh. I suppose his stat line is what makes him valuable. He's a 3-4 for 4-4. And yeah, if you give him any single lightsaber, like
He
a
bumps up a
fallen,
lot.
yeah,
Emerald's
because
Blade is +3/+3.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So at that point, we just get into what kinds of decks are viable. Like maybe a lightsaber deck is not viable right now, especially
It's
out
not.
of a blue, or maybe a yellow using something like Ahsoka for control. It's not Cad Bane. It doesn't have the synergy yet. So looking at more decks and looking at more sets coming out may just end up making uh, some of these cards more useful.
I
And that was
think.
something that I think that they touched on in the article was,
Mhm.
I mean, like,
Hmm.
and we've seen it already. Some cards are going to get reprinted. JTL has reprints. And so the idea is that they like some of these things and they want to keep it in the meta, and hopefully that will allow more, creative use of game mechanics in the future.
Yep. Alrighty.
I
Speaking of that future, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
You
I was
got
gonna say
another?
one of the things I appreciated about the article was just a brief touch on power creep. And I mean, from the jump, they said that this article is not about power creep, and it wasn't. But I appreciate it. What I appreciate about it is the transparency from the design team. Uh, just knowing that, like many games that I have played in the past, have inched their way toward failure because of lack of oversight and lack of insight toward these types of problems. And them being FFG and the design team around this game being proactive toward communication with the players, I think it's just it's very heartening, and I love it so much.
It is really refreshing. Very refreshing to see that communication between the design team and its player base. Very much so, especially around things like power creep, because that is always a hot button topic among card players. Like, well, this card is cheaper for the same thing and it does more. Uh, what are we even doing with these old cards? Why did we buy these old cards? Why didn't I just wait until the end of the rotation to do this? So
Yeah, but on the other hand, I think that that's an unhealthy mindset from a player base, right? Like I only want to play the game if I can ensure that I have the most powerful cards. Then in my mind, you're not a fan of the game, you're just a fan of winning.
there are people that are like that. There are people that are fans of the game. There are people that are fans of winning. There are people that are fans of what kind of shenanigans can they build out of a deck.
Oh, sure.
And that's getting into the what is it, Johnny, Timmy, and Ralphie of the Magic. I could bring that up. They're three archetypes that are how you like to play the game, and
Mm.
we can get into that in a later discussion. And Robert will be the perfect person to lead that discussion.
I
So
think I was gonna say I think one of the best. I lost my train of thought. Continue.
no, I was just gonna start talking about leaders for JTL. What kind of excitement we are looking at for that?
It's an excellent question. Um, Honestly, none of them are blowing up my skirt. I know that you each have several that you're super excited about. None of them have blown my hair back. Uh, Maybe that's just. I mean, you guys know my Star Wars kinks. I like Jedi's and I like the Force, and this expansion doesn't touch that at all. And maybe that's just part of it. I like the new pilot mechanic. I think it's pretty great.
I think we'll get to the pilot mechanic in a little bit. I've got a hot take on that. Captain Dickbeard, what leaders are you looking forward to for the set?
I'm looking at all the leaders and I see a lot of potential in various different directions. I also have some hot takes on pilots. I also have some hot takes on tokens. Um, I think it's fantastic that there are two leaders in this set that create TIE fighter tokens as well as X-Wing tokens.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm a little I'm a little sad that I didn't get leaders in Twilight that did the same for troopers and droids. I think that was a missed opportunity. Um,
Lots of cards that went along with that theme, but no leaders to support it.
yeah, or not effectively anyway. And but they seem to have gone a different direction with JTL, and it may be the case that, and I don't know this, but it may be the case that in the interest of avoiding redundancy, they just didn't bake that into the Twilight of the Republic cake. Either way, I'm happy that it's here. I'm interested in the most in Darth Vader, Poe, Wedge, and Admiral Akbar. When I was playing L5R back in the day, I originally started with Shadowlands, and Shadowlands was all about creating a bunch of undead awesomeness. And so Darth Vader and Admiral Akbar kind of scratched that itch with their token creation. Um, and I'll spare you the the litany of all of the different ways that I can abuse both of these leaders, but I'm really excited about it. And I think Poe is just fun. I've been playing the most online testing JTL with Poe, and it's just such a fun leader to play. Uh, I think in competitive play he'll be all right, and I think most of these leaders will be mostly based in limited play, so for drafts and sealed events, they're gonna be hot. Like Rose
I think
Tico.
I think Rose is super great in draft or sealed.
Hmm.
Yep, but she's not going to be any good at all in anything else. Yeah.
Can you scroll all the way down? I want to count something.
Hmm.
Okay, so every scroll up just a little bit to the next row. Yeah, so green has 4, blue has 4, red has 5, and yellow has 5.
5. Those are
Interesting.
also red and yellow are the spotlight decks. So the extra leaders are coming from those two spotlight decks.
That's true. Hannah and Boba.
Yep.
How about
So
you,
the two
Candid?
leaders that I am super excited for, and this will introduce me to our listeners. I am Imperial coded through and through. I do not want anything to do with any rebel scum. I am super excited for Piet because huge, massive triangles coming at your face is amazing. And Thrawn, because, like, how can you not like Thrawn? He is one of the original extended universe amazing villains. And I blow things up and then I blow things up again is incredible. Like, there's such good tempo out of Thrawn, this Thrawn. Like, I can't wait to abuse him so much.
Humor me and click on Lando.
Here you and click on Lando.
Deploys on 7. Oof.
He is an
And so
expensive boy.
like this the ability itself strikes me as interesting, right? Like I'll do shield tokens if we have synergy between the space and ground. But it's going to cost me an action and a resource, and he's expensive. Uh,
And you're paying the cost of the unit. You're not getting a discount on the unit or anything.
no. So I'm paying one, and I'm paying one resource for a shield token. Click on Vader. Vader deploys sooner, and his action doesn't cost a resource, and it gives me something on the board.
Yep.
And so this is what I was talking about earlier about how I still don't understand their costing scheme.
That's
Especially
perfectly fair.
because especially because shields are not the answer to indirect damage. If shields
Well,
block indirect damage, that might be more valuable, but they do not.
Yep. Very, very much so.
I think the hot thing about Lando is that he turns something into a Sentinel. Um, on his leader side. And he says when deployed as an upgrade, you may give a shield token to a unit in a different arena. So his his leader side is
Huge.
cumbersome to use. It's just it doesn't it's too expensive.
Yep.
Like you put
Turn
this in front
7
of
is too late for that Sentinel to really matter,
right, and
in my opinion.
yeah, turn seven's too late, and it's you're not getting enough value out of the $1 you're paying on top of the unit cost. Oh, and they have to be in different arenas.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I hate
So
that.
you're spreading out your resources.
Yeah, I hate that. No, this
Yep.
this this leader was designed to fail, in my opinion.
And like they didn't even call him General Lando, right? They have him flying the Falcon in the space art or in the card art with Yen Nub. They didn't even call him General Lando, just
That,
Lando.
that's what he gets for cheating in a game of Sabak.
You know what? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
But he is buying time, and he is going to need all that time to get to a 7 drop. Just saying.
I mean, but to be clear, like at a 7 drop, his stat line is stupid, especially if you put him in the Falcon. +5,
Yep.
+5. I mean, like, I think that they really meant this as a theme deck to put him in the Falcon with Nien Nub, and now it's something like a 12-12 unit or some stupid shit like that with Sentinel. Which
All
is
Well,
right.
crazy if you think about it, because now it's bigger than the Executioner. What the hell? What the hell?
So that kind of leads us into the next topic with those mechanics and pilots. And I'm going to start with my hot take. And I think pilots are garbage. I think that pilots are going to put too many eggs in one basket. You've got one unit at that point. Even if that is a leader unit because you deployed your leader on it, there's plenty of kill that, or just doesn't care about unit or doesn't care about leader. I can abuse your unit and you spent how many resources on one unit? I just don't care. Something happens to it, I spend it or bow it, whatever term we're using today. I return it to your hand.
exhaust.
I just kill it. Yep, exhaust. Like, and all 12 resources that you spent on 3 or 4 turns just went away. In all of the things that I've seen, resource or not resources, attachments just aren't powerful in this game. And pilots are just pilots are just attachments.
Disabling Fang Fighter has entered the chat.
Yeah, right. Well,
That card is going to get so much play.
so much play.
Hmm.
All right, so here's my hot take. I disagree with you. I think I think pilots are amazing, and here's why. You don't just have an upgrade. You have an upgrade that gives you the option of also being a unit. And I think what's going to happen is once all of the super nerds and SWU figure out the meta, there's going to be a hierarchy of pilots. Some pilots are going to be just across the board always good. For example, Chewbacca. He he can't be bounced to hand and he can't be defeated by with card abilities. You put that on any 2-drop ship, you're going to eat 12 damage before your opponent does anything about it in most cases. It's just a really powerful pilot. If you play that pilot out of wedge, you get to pilot for 2 instead of 3.
That's fair enough.
And so,
Another
like,
pi- another oh go ahead.
no, like, let's stay on Shui for a second. So he's 3 space bucks, uh, green hero. He gives +3/+3. So I think he is now the same cost as the General's Blade. And now he turns you into a lurking TIE fighter and you can't touch him. That's rough.
It's
How many
pretty
how many times have you guys fucked my Jedi by just carbonite freezing them or parallelist positioning them or
This
whatever?
doesn't stop Carbonite Freeze. I'm not defeating it. I'm just making you sit down and stay sat down.
Fair.
that is pretty key.
Yep.
Those
Fair.
kind of things are very key.
Can't be defeated or returned to hand, but if you just exhaust it, perma exhaust.
Yep.
Right, but that's an edge case and a viable meta option. Another pilot that I think is pretty outstanding is oh, Fritz. Is that his name? Fritz? I should just look up pilots.
I think it's Frisk.
Frisk, that's his name. He enters play and destroys a 2 cost or less upgrade if he is used as a pilot. Also, he
Frisk.
he is a 2 for 3/2 on the ground. This is again an example of a pilot that I think is worth his salt. He gives a +2/+2 stat line as an upgrade, and if you play him as an upgrade, you can defeat an upgrade. Or if this is the only turn 1 drop you draw in the open of the game, it's a 2 for 3/2. It's great. It's a great versatile card. I like pilots because pilots give you options. And
I do
you're
like the
gonna find
options.
out.
I will admit that.
Okay. Um, and then I'll bring up one more pilot because I think it's worth mentioning because I played it last night in that Vader deck. Is the Mandalorian. He pilots for 2 or 3. I should just look.
Just type in Mando and watch the results get better. Dummy.
That's me.
Except it doesn't.
Except it didn't work.
The man.
He is the man. There you go.
And played as an upgrade, exhausted enemy unit. 3/1 for 2.
2. Yep.
As a cunning card.
Right. So this is
Yep.
again my point. It's a 3/1 pilot with a valuable entering play ability that exhausts an enemy unit in its arena, and it only costs 2. And because of the way the rulings are for costs, you don't have to pay the aspect penalty if you use this as a pilot.
Yep.
And if you do get this, if you do pay 7 to play him, so what? You're exhausting up to 2 ground units who might be just beef sticks.
And my favorite pilot that I've seen, and we've talked about this, is Sidon, Sidon, Ethano.
Yes, the neg 2.
This is, I think, my favorite pilot because it screws with your game plan. For all those ships that you want to put a pilot on, and you're like, nope, there's already a pilot here. Congratulations. I think that that's more powerful than the neg 2.
Because it
100%.
blocks them from doing anything cool with that ship. I just stole your
Correct.
shit and I nerfed it. Have a good night.
Yep, exactly. I may not have stolen it. It's not on my side, but now you can't do whatever cool thing you wanted to do that relies on you having a pilot. Congratulations. I think when we're talking about flexible, chef's kiss. This is the definition of flexible, in my opinion.
Well,
Which is
to add
perfect on
to
its aspect.
and to add to your observation of flexible, take a look at Han Solo, the legendary pilot.
We're not talking about artwork. We're not talking about artwork. We're not talking about artwork. The only one that even looks remotely like Harrison Ford.
When played as an hey, shut the fuck up. When played as an upgrade, you may attack with attached unit. If it's a Millennium Falcon, it deals its combat damage before the defender. You can't tell me in what universe that isn't good.
It's amazing. It's +2, +3, 4/2 with first strike.
So this is why you're wrong, Tangent. It isn't just a pilot. It's a card with an event attached to it. That's the way you have to think of pilots. It's not so that's going to be what differentiates one pilot from another. Does its ability upon entering play or its static text, is it relevant to the game state? Like, is it helping you advance your victory condition? And abilities like this for 2 advance your victory condition 100%. Play this out
I
of wedge
see.
with a yellow base, and it costs one.
I see your. It's a upgrade with a ability on it, and that's what most units are, is a body with an ability on it. Now, I'm willing to be wrong. Like I'm waiting to see how the meta turns out, but I think that they are maybe not going to bomb. I think that there are going to be some pilots that do really well. I think that there is going to be a small handful of pilots that you stick to, and everything else is going to be trash.
Do you think
That is my take.
do you think piloting will be better than coordinate?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I
Okay,
do.
cool.
I do think it will be better because there will be a small handful of cards that are playable, and I don't think coordinate is actually a playable keyword.
If there was a leader who gave you ground tokens, like create clone troopers, coordinate would be cool. I want to point out my confusion with costing, and I think Han Solo, this card is a great example. For two space bucks, I add +2/+3, and I give something ambush. Okay. So for two
You're
resources,
not
I have
giving it
a
ambush. You're not giving it ambush, and that's key.
you may
Whatever
attack with attached
ship
unit when played as an upgrade.
the ship that you have must
Uh,
still be ready. You
Well, true,
cannot
but
attack with a spent unit.
it is allowing me to do a thing on top of a thing. It's giving me two actions for one. It's giving me a two for
Mm-hmm.
one. And so for two resources, I get that. Or if I play him as a traditional unit for 5 resources, I get ambush and 4/5. I don't, the costing doesn't make sense. In my mind, the stats aren't doubled, right? The cost between the two versions of the card is more than double.
I I do think that they are undercosting pilots a little bit, and that might be to try and get you to play them as pilots. Or
incentivize.
maybe that's an appreciation for the fact that a pilot is inherently less weak as opposed to just another body. An attachment is not going to be as good as having a second body in play.
So like if you were to take the piloting thing and double everything, it would be a 4/6 attack when played for 4. You see what I'm saying?
So really, it's just missing one health and the first strike capability.
And it's another space buck. So it's another turn in the game.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
I'm not good at math. We all know that, but the math don't seem to math.
Well, I think it's for balancing reasons, right? Like if
Yeah.
Han Solo was coming in for 5 as a 6/6, like a Poe Dameron, for example, then you would have different stats entirely. So you can either have ambush inherently, or you can give it to your spaceship.
Yep.
And so like there's a 7/6/6 Han with ambush and something else while attacking. This card deals damage first.
Yeah. It's just first strike.
Yep. They really should keyword that.
One would think so, but maybe they have something else in mind. All right. So indirect damage, the other big mechanic that's coming out with JTL. Robert's already gotten a little bit of his opinion out there. Uh, I love the idea of indirect damage. It's amazing from a user standpoint, and also having it used against you, being able to ping your own dudes or ensure that something that you want dies. Like, I don't mind that. I like some of my stuff dying. Or maybe I want to use my base health as a resource. There's something to be said for you did 3 damage to me. Cool, it's going to the base. I still have my dude to swing at you.
Robert?
Opinions?
Um, I mean, it makes Anakin what it takes to win a little easier to control how that happens to you. Um, I think that there's a lot of fun things in regards to like Mace Windu leader unit, right? Do 2 damage to everything that's damaged when he deploys. Okay, that's fun. Um, I think I think more than pilots, the I think indirect damage is going to change the meta more than piloting will, because piloting is just upgrades, and we have upgrades before.
Yep.
Uh, Indirect damage is going to be ridiculous because at some point it's forcing everyone to make a choice. Am I playing a token deck and now all my tokens are gone? Or do I have to put this on a unit that I don't want it on? And then, as I pointed out earlier, the fact that shields don't block it is rough. RUFF.
Or am I playing tokens to protect my important
My
things?
big units from all this
Because
bullshit you're throwing at me.
yep, either I get to swing for one just because it's fun, or it soaks one damage from that indirect, from those big planetary bombardments. Because 12 indirect damage is RUFFF.
Oh,
Is a
Damn,
lot.
boy,
it's
damn.
it even eight indirect damage for six.
Yep.
Okay.
Tell me you're an aggression card without telling me you're an aggression card. I mean, seriously.
Like, can you think of anything else that does that much damage for that cost? That's so easy to use. And so, sure, you can't
Mm,
control where it goes, but it's just like, here, figure this out. You now have 6 damage amongst your bullshit.
outside of outright defeating a unit, nothing.
And you're also putting the onus on your opponent. Like, here, you get to spend the cycles, the mental cycles on having to figure out this puzzle. Like, this is not my puzzle to figure out.
This is,
Even
yeah,
though you've
no,
already done a little bit of math, I'm sure you've done a little bit. Like, yeah, they'll probably do this, they'll probably do that. But, like, the real decision is coming down to your opponent having to do it.
Dude,
and that's
that's a really excellent point.
right. Like, like you now
You're
you're fucking up their OODA loop.
you're inflicting mental damage.
You're
Psychic
talking to a
damage.
control player. My game is to mess with your head and make you make the bad decisions. Like, that is how I'm going to win.
And it should be pointed out that with how fast this game plays, like from calling back to the article, they were saying they designed it around 15 to 25 minute match.
Hmm.
That means the gameplay is fast, which means that just throwing this out there, boom, here's a whole bunch of indirect damage that you have to deal with. Is like, oh well, shit. Now it. It is disrupting tempo in several ways.
8 damage on turn 6 may be the game. That may be the game.
I think
Uh,
indirect damage is very interesting. I like it a lot. I think I think by itself, it is an interesting and welcome mechanic. I do have concerns about Thrawn and his ability to duplicate indirect damage effects because if you think of it like from the standpoint of you have you have an example of a card that does three indirect damage, right? Well, that card was costed for that three indirect damage. Thrawn now doubles that value, and that is just I just think that's going to shake up the meta in
Hmm.
very unpredictable ways because from the little bit of testing we've been doing on the side, you guys can attest like he's playable out of yellow, blue, and green.
I I see him getting banned. I've said it. I've been saying it to you guys for like 2 weeks now. I see him getting banned the way because
Not
obviously they're
before
going to
Vegas.
wait. They're going to wait and see how Vegas
Hmm.
goes and other stuff goes. But I haven't won or even come close to winning a single deck where you guys were playing Thrawn. Not even close.
I think that he is going to be a puzzle that is going to take those big brain nerds, as Captain Dickbeard over here said. I think it's going to take those big brain nerds to figure out his puzzle, and then he's going to be beatable. And I'm going to say that, and we're not those big brain nerds. We like to run our mouths. We don't got big brains. We'll play with it. We'll let the people that have no lives but to play cards. We'll let them figure it out and tell us.
And I'll be jealous of them and their freedom.
Yep.
And that's okay. And well, thanks to I'm so bad with names, but thanks to whomever runs SWODB, quick shout out, thank you, mystery awesome dude, person,
I
whoever
told you
you
to hunt
are.
him down. He plays where you play.
Does he?
He
Plays at
does.
Red Council.
He
I
plays
I
at Red
I
Castle.
have not seen him, or maybe my head's just down. I don't know. I have not seen him. Either way, thank you. This is an amazing resource. Being able to tap into other people's insights, and it's been when I first discovered the game. This is also what makes SWO one of the things that makes SWO such a superior card game. Um, Being able to just jump into SWODB, grab a leader, an iconic character that you grew up loving or hating, and just copying a deck and going and just testing it out online. And then if you like it, try it twice. And then if you still love it, like it, you can go build the deck. You can buy the cards that you need. You don't have to buy boxes of stuff. You can just go buy singles. Like this game favors the casual player as much as the collector, as much as the competitive player, and I love that.
Yep, yep. Here, here.
That might be a topic for another time, playing CCGs in the world of being able to test online. Like, I remember having to have proxies to be able to test decks in person,
Oh my God,
and
dude.
just the fact that we can play online. And for those that don't know, like, Captain Dickbeard and I live about an hour apart, but Robert lives 8 hours away. Like, we can't get together and play
10.
games, but we
You live
play
10.
10,
Yeah.
10 hours away. Sorry.
I've made that drive.
It's not awesome. I5 blows. It's not a fun drive.
It's just I split it
It's
up
a
into
lot
two
of
5 hour
nothing.
increments.
Uh, but just saying, like, us being able to hop on, we've hopped on and played games every night this week. Like, that is an amazing reality we live in.
And resource.
No,
And
it's
resource.
as an aside, at work today, I had we had this hour-long company meeting about this new electronic payroll thingy that we're switching over to, and like part of their slides was everything is more and more digital now. And my immediate thought was rebellion because I hate everything being digital. On the other hand, the fact that I can play this game online super easy with my two best buds anytime we feel like it is pretty fucking awesome.
Would you
Or
like
other
to start
games.
yelling at somebody to get off your lawn next, old man?
I do.
Okay. I'm right there with you, don't worry. But here again, tell me you're old without telling me you're old.
uh, I used to have a crush on Rainbow Bright.
I know who Pippi Longstocking is.
Little Orphan Annie, Little Orphan Annie. Alrighty, one last subject for us. So there was a meta update that dropped today. We have some thoughts about that. Captain Dickbeard, you go ahead and start out with that.
Sure. Let's see. Well, they packed a lot of really awesome, interesting information into that. I think it was about 40 minutes long. They talked about the PQs. There was 140 PQs total. I think that's absolute. That's just outstanding. That's outstanding. And
Mm-hmm.
the coolest thing about the PQs, I was gently um, following the PQ results through the season, and the diversity of leaders will was the most fascinating thing about the experience. I've in all the card games I've played in my life, I've never seen a field with that sort of spread. There is nine, like so in the top in the top echelons of competitive play, there were nine different leaders and three different leaders from three different sets, comprising all of the top deck lists out of every PQ.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's insane. Like it's a home run from a design point of view. Um, They covered that. They talked about Han Yellow because Han Cunning from set one is what was the dominant force in all of the PQs. He was just over 29% of the top eights and just above 30% of the winners, which isn't bad. I think that's totally fair and reasonable when you compare that to what Boba was last year. Boba was,
50%.
yeah, he was
Hmm.
40% of the top eights and over 50% of the winners. So big win, big win. They also talked about um, that. Well, speaking of Boba, they talked about the suspended list, and Boba is going to stay on it. Um, but at this time, there are no changes to the suspended list. How about you guys? What did you find interesting about?
Yeah, I think for me, the most interesting thing was the fact that they have put it out that they do not want to errata cards, at least functionally.
Mm.
They talked about doing some templating and ease of use, but they want you to be able to open a pack of cards, read the card, and know that that's what it does. Even if maybe it wasn't clear what it does, it's not going to change a number. It's not going to change an effect. It's not going to functionally change how this card works. And I think that's a really interesting stance to take from a CCJ or CCG. Like, you will always be able to open this pack, whether it's 5 years from now or next week, and know that this is what this card does. Uh, yeah, having a card banned instead of just slightly altered sucks, especially if you just went and bought a playset of something that might be a little pricey. Prices are better in this game than they are in other games, but I think that's a really good and player friendly stance to take.
Robert?
Uh, Nothing that was said is anything that I disagree with. I agree with it wholeheartedly. Games Workshop, please take notes, you ass blasters. That is all.
But why, when
Um,
you can put out books and charge lots of money for them every couple months and then change them as soon as they come out?
ugh, God,
That that is a whole another episode on predatory gaming practices.
Yes, yes,
a
it
whole
is.
nother episode. Um, Going back to suspensions, they did talk about suspending DJ because of
Yes.
a unique
Hmm.
interaction that he has with Tech and Han. Um, the the key drivers of that deck is that, or one of the key aspects of that deck is that it attacks your opponent's hand and resources. And I've been on the other end. I've been on the receiving end of Han Yellow, and I have to say it is 100% a feel bad. There's just no there's no way around it. It's a feel bad. And so I them at least discussing the considerations for suspending DJ, I think is appropriate.
Yep,
Uh
knowing that it is on their radar is reassuring.
yeah. Oh, can we talk about prize packs? The Pop Tart packs?
Um, Here's my thought. We we should wrap up and then just transition straight into the bonus.
Okay.
Let's
And then
talk
I'll
about
just
prize packs in the bonus,
We'll talk about
uh,
prize packs in the
or
bonus.
just shoot the shit in the bonus.
closing thoughts, my beautiful darlings.
I'm excited. I This is going to be the first set since I started playing JTL. I'm super excited for a new meta and some of these cards to come out and getting to go play this weekend.
Same,
Like,
same.
gonna go do some pre-release this weekend. Super excited.
Same. Friday night cannot come soon enough.
I'm playing Saturday and Sunday.
Sexy.
Damn right you are.
Alrighty, and with that, thank you everybody for joining us today. We are going to go into a little bit of bonus content where we just kind of act the fools, and hopefully this will be entertaining for you if you want to stick with us. And if you don't want to stick with us, We understand that you do not like fun. So, bye-bye.
Or big, beautiful, bearded men. Weird.
We are big, beautiful, bearded men.
That's what I say. So first off, I don't understand the phrase, what the fuck is a Pop Tart?
Uh, so,
Thing.
I did not
Are there
coin that
pastries?
phrase.
Are there pastries?
Dude, do you have any idea the shit that I used to do to Pop Tarts? That sounded wrong. But what I mean is the concoctions of food that I would create to paste
Consume.
onto Pop Tarts, like peanut butter and honey and chocolate chips and just spread it on. I would turn it into more than just a Pop Tart. It would be a delicacy when I was done with it. Yeah, and it was even better if it was warm. That ignore the fact that Pop Tarts are giving you cancer. Okay, that doesn't mean anything anymore because everything's giving you cancer.
Nothing
Uh,
means anything.
but uh, anyway, Pop Tarts is what they were calling the little foil prize packs at Red Castle, and
Okay.
so I that's
You,
what I
you
call
can
them
stick with
now.
it.
They're little 3-card packs that are in silver wrapper. Very interestingly, the prize packs are plastic cellophane, whatever, not environmentally friendly, whereas the regular packs are paper. I thought that was interesting.
I love the
The
paper
fact
packaging. I think it's fucking awesome.
I
Feels
do
good,
too.
right? It just
We're
feels good.
being
Stick it in the recycle bin and move on with your day.
and they're so much easier to open than the crappy old
Yeah.
ones that are like child sealed. Like, we're gamers, we're children. How the hell are we supposed to open these damn things?
We're fat, old, lonely men. Don't make us use manual dexterity.
Yeah, we have arthritis.
Yeah.
And wrist injuries.
So the
Forget
reason
about
why
the
I'm
wrist
excited
injuries.
about the Pop Tarts that are coming out in JT with JTL is because of their formatting. So the old Pop Tarts would come with uh, the fixed rarity cards from the starter decks or the S rarity, um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the only way you can get some of the alt art or excuse me hyperspace treatments as well as the alternate border treatments. You were going to have all of that with the new stuff, but they're going to include actual rares from the expansion as well as legendaries. Um, I'm
Oh, did you
looking.
see that starters are going into the boosters now too?
Yes.
hmm I think that's really important for people that don't want to buy a starter deck. Like, I don't need these 6 cards. I'm already buying a brick of boosters or whatever. Like, I don't want to have to spend another $30 on these 2 decks that I why am I buying these? I think that's huge. Or for people that just buy a couple of boosters, like maybe that's what you can afford. I can afford $4 or $6, whatever the booster cost is a week. Like, that's my gaming play money.
Yeah, yeah.
For those that
So
care, the cards that we're getting in the foil packs are Director Krennic, a 2 for 2 with cool abilities, Onyx Squadron Brute, Hera Syndulla,
How do you
Cassian.
how
Huh?
do you feel about Hera? How do you feel about Hera?
That is another episode for another time. I really, 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 really like Hera Syndulla, and she
we
was
know.
my favorite character in Ahsoka,
We
and
know.
it's the only reason to watch that show, as far as I'm concerned. Cassian Andor, Leia Organa, Poe Dameron, Chewbacca, General Hux, our favorite Englishman to hate, IG-88, BB-8, Red Squadron Y-wing. I will note this is the only card out of those foil packs that that does not have an alternate art. All the
Two
other
cards.
art, huh?
2 cards.
Oh, there's
Onyx
two.
Squadron Brute. Yep, Onyx
Squadron
Squadron
Brute.
Brute also did not get alternate art. It's just
Red,
expanded.
right? Red 5, Captain Tarkin, Shoot Down, Boba Fett, Anakin Skywalker, Han Solo, who is the only legendary, Fett's Fire Spray, Millennium Falcon, and Swarming Vulture Droid.
That Boba card looks good. The X-Wing card looks good too.
Yeah, I love the X-Wing card.
Looking at the graphic as opposed to stats, just the card itself.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm loving all of this.
I love alternate art. I love what it does for the secondary market, and the fact that I could play this game and never see a single Pop-Tart pack makes me happy. Because it's not paywalling anything, it's not region locking anything. It means that I can play this game however I want, and people that like alternate art and chasing these cards also get that.
I would be upset if there was exclusives in these.
Mm-hmm.
I have some feelings around exclusives as tournament prizes. On the other hand, I understand that you need a reason for those. You need a prize pool, and there you go.
There you go.
As long as there's no effect on the gameplay, I'm fine. Like, you can have a card that you can only get if you're going to Vegas, but that's the only place you can get that art. Cool, don't care. People can pay whatever they want for it on the secondary market. I can use the common version out of a pack that I bought at my Official GS. Cool.
I'm curious about their number distribution again. 4 blue, 3 green, 7 red, 3 yellow, 1 villain, 1 hero, 1 neutral. Interesting.
That may just be based on who they could get to do art. I know in the balancing, not the balancing article, in the medical article, they were talking about the issues getting some art, and that's why there was 2 that don't have alternate art. So it's probably more of an art limitation than a card choice.
Good to know. I wonder if they're having difficulty getting art because of their budget or something else.
Art takes time, and it's usually one of the last things to actually be developed with a CCG.
It's definitely the last thing that goes into the template because, I mean, I'm speaking from playtest days, back when we were sleeving and re-sleeving things that we were cutting out of paper. You only ever had either a rough draft of what they thought they wanted for the art to be, or it was just a blank template.
Yep. This is card number 6.
I think most of the art. We're not going to talk about art in this episode. Okay. I actually don't have a problem with most of the art. There are a few. There's about I would say 24 cards that I look at them and I go, why? Just why? And then there are others that I look at and I go, oh, that's beautiful. Like, I think Rio Durant, that's just an amazing capture of that character. He was my favorite character in the Han Solo movie. He died too young, too soon.
Too soon.
Yeah.
He was a leaf on the wind.
He is the Wash of Star Wars, as far as I'm concerned.
Right there, buddy. Right there. I think generally speaking, they do a really great job on the ships.
Mm-hmm.
And their artists have other areas where they show a strong lack, and I'll just leave it at that.
Just go look
I still think it's a choice.
Go look at Snap. It's like, what are they aiming at here? Are they aiming at a guy who's trying to come in his X-Wing? Or is that like right before he's about to die? Like, I don't get it. Also, his face.
Solo. What?
It's just disturbing.
We are not talking about art this episode, even in the bonus content,
art.
Gentlemen.
It hurts me so much. It hurts me. Oh, fuck me.
We are here to hurt you. That's okay. Perfectly okay with it.
The fact that we're all playing in sealed events this weekend is super great. And then we can talk about that next week. I'm very excited about that.
Yep.
I have never done that kind of event before. So, cherry pop daddy's going on.
Really looking forward to what you think of a sealed event. Like I always enjoy the sealed events. I'm a little sad that it is sealed and not draft. I enjoy the draft format a lot more than sealed myself, just
Uh,
because I like that interaction and I like the interesting stories that you get from a sealed that you don't necessarily get from a draft. Or from a I like
you
the
know what
interesting
direct
interactions you get from a draft, not from a sealed. Sorry, that was backwards.
um for someone who's a curmudgeon, that stance is very interesting for you to take.
It's not necessarily the interactions you have with the people, but it's the interactions and what you see come around the table. When you see that rare come back around the table that you passed on the first round, you're like, I can't believe this made it back around the table to me. Like, I had to make a hard choice, and then other people didn't choose this really good card. You wonder what they're doing. You wonder what kind of deck they're building. You wonder what their plan is and why somebody didn't go, oh, this is going to be a really expensive card. I want this card. Something like that. Like it's
Fair.
an interesting interaction, not necessarily talking to people, because I don't like to talk to people. You guys aren't people. That's why I like talking to you.
Along the same lines of draft, I think with JTL, we have enough of a card pool that we can create a Star Wars cube.
Not sure what you mean by that.
I also
Uh, oh, so have you ever heard of a magic cube?
no.
So it's where they take a large pool of cards and it's all fixed and it's usually kept in a box, which is the cube, and everybody go everybody takes turns drafting cards from the cube for their deck. You're essentially making basically a commander deck for yourself, um, and then you play it against everybody else in the cube when you're done drafting. I should look up more comprehensive rules for cubes because I'm pretty sure there's a better explanation than the one I've given.
Hmm.
I'm
Sound
I'm kind of when it comes to draft, I'm not. I guess I'm just. It's the one format that I have the least amount of experience with, and so and it just doesn't excite me. I prefer sealed events, uh, like pre-releases. I for the past 2 years, I have been going to Magic pre-releases. I don't play Magic in any serious capacity. I just go to the pre-releases, get a few cards for some commander builds, and then I tuck it in a box and I never look at it again. I don't even make trades. I don't even sell the valuable shit that I get. Most of the time, I'm either giving it back to a friend or loaning him cards. I have a buddy that I go do Magic pre-releases with, and it scratches that itch, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm not out of my comfort zone in a pre-release. I anticipate that I'm going to have a lot of fun this weekend.
maybe my like for drafts came from the fact that I drafted L5R primarily, and you get some really interesting stories with so many different factions. You don't get that kind of interaction with something like Star Wars or Magic, where you've only got 5 or 6 factions or colors or things you could build around. Whereas with L5R, you had the 9 different factions that you had to build around, and if you couldn't get enough phoenixes, you had to splash in something else, and that could cause all sorts of chaos. So
Right.
I don't know. How are we feeling about that, gentlemen?
Okay, so a
All right.
cube
No, oh, here we go.
A
Here we
cube
go.
uses a cube is a 360 card cube can support exactly 8 players. If you create 3 card booster packs for each player, this means that every single card in your cube will be drafted, which is the most optimal way to experience your cube. Some cubes contain 720 cards. A 720 card cube can support two 8-player drafts. Many players prefer a larger cube because it allows them to play two 8-player drafts without having to reshuffle, and they'll never see the same card twice. So here's my point. I've played in Magic Cube events casually and also at tournaments, and it is a very so. This would probably be the one example of a draft format that's just super fun to me. Um, and it would be super fun to do with just a group of friends. I think I'll make it a pet project of mine, and then uh, maybe do like a write up about it,
Yeah,
and
that
see
could be
uh,
interesting.
and see if I can get other people, because there's enough cards in the format now that you can make it work.
I think that could actually be another interesting discussion about playing Star Wars Highlander. Star Wars is such a game about consistency that if you don't get consistency in your decks, I wonder what that would really do to this game. And it would certainly slow it down a lot.
You're talking about Twin Sun.
I've never played Twin Suns. I don't know anything about the format.
Twin
Next time
Suns
you
is your 2 leaders, one base, 80 card deck, one copy of any single card. No dupes.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of fun.
it
Sounds
is
like it would
it's
slow the game down a whole bunch.
yes and no. What's interesting about so you both have played Commander, right?
Hmm.
So you kind of know what to anticipate in a 3, 4, or even 5-player game of Commander. You're going to get 10-minute turns after turn 4, and and then it's kind of cumbersome to just sit and
Wait.
play a single game over the course of 2 hours.
Right.
And then if you get eliminated first, then you're just sitting there with your cards waiting for everyone else to figure out their politics. That is the worst thing about Magic Commander. The best thing about Magic Commander is deck construction, because there are a lot the plethora of archetypes and really beautiful card interactions, and that's about the most that can be said for it. If you're As a counter argument to to what I just said, if you were playing a competitive Commander deck, you're you're putting in packages of cards that execute um, different outcomes very quickly. Like I've watched playthroughs online of people winning turn 3, turn 2, even turn 1 with commander decks. So it's possible.
Wow. Okay.
I think those decks are toxic because then it's too
Hmm.
fast, right? So like a good commander experience is a balance. You want the game to not last more than an hour, and you don't want your turns to take longer than 3 minutes. You really don't.
No.
But that hasn't been my experience. In most cases, in multiplayer Commander, the games just go long. In Star Wars Twin Suns, that doesn't happen because it follows the same linear progression of a normal standard game of Star Wars. You do something, I do something, he does something, she does something, they do something. You just keep going around the table. I even played a 5-player game of Twin Suns 2 weeks ago, and it went great. It was fine. Like it was weird because everybody was like, "Can we do this?" And I was like, "Why? Who says we can't? Sit down, let's go." And
Interesting.
we had a really fun time. So the game doesn't draw out waiting for the last man standing. Instead, the game waits for whoever gets eliminated first. Uh, when a player is eliminated, the person who eliminates that player heals their base 5 damage, and that cues the end of the not yeah that cues the end round, not the end of the round, but that is the last round of the game. All players will continue taking their turns in sequence, and then at the end of the turn, or excuse me, the round when nobody can do anything anymore, whoever has the least amount of damage on their base wins.
Interesting.
Complete change of subject. I just got a notification that my Carbonite booster deck is on the way. Booster
Hell
card.
yeah.
And so
Uh,
it's the email that says that we made the shipping label, but I mean that was a conversation we had earlier today, right? Was like Why
Yeah.
are those things happening? Why do some people have this shit and I don't, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm still
Fair
trying
enough.
not to have bad feelings about that.
I've got a pack for you, buddy. I
I
got you.
know. And full disclosure, I went to eBay looking at prices and I was so
I don't,
tempted.
I don't even want to imagine what that shit's running at right now.
No.
260.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
No, it's not. It's really not. But I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna pull the trigger on it. Like, because I was thinking about, I was like, am I really going to put that special foil treatment, Poe, or whatever, what have you, legendary Han Solo in my deck? No, no, I'll probably sell it. And then it's like, why did I buy that box?
If I get
But
a showcase, I'm 100% selling it. Just there
Yeah.
we go. Recoup the cost of the thing.
Right. One piece of cardboard makes the whole box. Foil showcase? Damn. Buy a brick.
I think the format that I'm most excited about outside of Twin Suns, because I think Twin Suns is the best format of SWU. That's just my personal opinion. But I'm really looking forward to the Escalation League, and that's something we can talk about more in the on another podcast in depth. But essentially, what it is you get a pre-release kit, and every subsequent week for 8 weeks, you buy in and get a new pack. You open that pack and you adjust your deck with that pack. And by the end of 8 weeks, you end up with a 50 card deck.
But how are you going to play?
You play
Your
with
your
the
deck stays there at
your,
the shop.
yeah, the deck stays at the shop.
Well, yeah, but like the first week you can't play. You've got 16 cards.
No, the first week a
The pre-release
you have the
box,
pre-release
just like you're
box,
getting this weekend. So six boosters.
6 boosters,
Okay,
which is a
okay, I get it now. I
yeah.
was like, I can't play with 16 cards. What the fuck?
No, so the first week you'll build a 30 card deck and you'll make it the best that you can, and it'll suck. And then this following week you get a new pack, and then it'll be a 35 card deck or 30, whatever the increments
Whatever
that
the
they
metric
increase.
is.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and maybe you'll switch leaders. Maybe you'll get more tools for a theme that you like more. Like
Hmm.
for example, in the last Escalation League, Anakin Skywalker was king, and I would say second to Anakin was Ahsoka, because Ahsoka, right out of Twilight, if you're just playing with Twilight cards, had a lot of really good spamming options for clones.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's an interesting format. I don't want to leave my deck at the shop. Like, especially when
Sometimes
there's
shops
shops
get
that
broken
have
into.
issues, yep, getting broken into.
Hey
Uh,
now,
I mean, just saying. Uh, I also like buying my stuff and taking it home. I I don't know. Like, I want to play with my toys. I don't want to leave my toys there.
when do we pull the trigger on trying to get uh, Red Castle ownership to do an interview with us?
And
Uh,
that'll be a few episodes, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm of two thoughts about this. One, you ask them the next time you're there, and then we schedule, because scheduling can be difficult, and we just orient the episode around that, around their availability. Two, we wait 2 months to make sure we're consistent. Either one of those is perfectly fine to me. It could just be we end up waiting 2 months anyway because of their schedule. Like maybe that they're busy on Wednesday nights or some shit. So we all have to plan on recording on an off night just to make it work for everybody. I
And
have no particular thoughts on waiting or anything like that.
you're also going to want to give him some examples of previous recordings, because if he decides, oh God, these guys are fucksticks and I don't want anything to do with them, he may decide, no, I don't want to do an interview with these guys because they're
Fuck sticks.
jackasses.
They're
Like,
fuck sticks.
yeah,
Yeah, fair, fair. And then
Uh,
another one is if you hook up with the guy from SWUDB, have him on too. Ask him if he wants to
that's
shoot
a
the
great
shit.
idea.
Yeah, as a podcast that we may want to look at doing some collabs for something if both of us take off. Like, cool, let's
Didn't I
chat.
send a link to his podcast into
Yeah.
the channel today? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I meant to listen to that today. I'm gonna.
It
I
wasn't
thought it was,
long.
huh?
It wasn't long. It was like 30 minutes, unlike this fucking rambling.
Yeah, I just forgot. I thought it was funny because they had funny like names in their banners. I was like, I need to go back to that, but I was so
Curious idiot.
distracted with your guys' nonsense today.
You mean my beauty?
Yeah,
And then
something like that.
it brought me great pleasure that it irritated Tangent. Uh, I'm looking at like just the bones construction, like the template for how to create a cube, and I'm getting really excited because I think this is going to be a an opportunity to take the worst leaders in SWU and incorporate them into the cube. So it's going to be like your Rose Tico's, your Ahsoka's, even though she's not really the worst. Who are the worst leaders? Ah, that's another podcast, right?
It
Yeah,
is a
that's
question.
solely another podcast.
So how did you guys feel about like coming together for like a podcast? I know I feel a little I feel like you guys have done most